I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the town of Saugeen Shores, and first order of business is a declaration of pecuniary interest, and I'll remind every member of the responsibility to do so, and you can do so now or if and when it arises on the agenda. If there's none declared, then the next order is additions or deletions or amendments to the agenda, and they have nothing there. Next item on the agenda is adoption of minutes, and it's been moved by Councillor Madison, seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt, that the council adopt the minutes of the council meeting of December the 14th, 2015 as presented. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Next item is committee of the whole minutes, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Menage, that council will note and file the committee of the whole minutes of December the 14th, 2015. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. The next item on the agenda are reports of committee of the whole, and the first is a general government report of December the 14th, 2015, and it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt, second by Councillor Madison, that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the general government report dated December the 14th, 2015, recommending the following. 1. Approve the municipal insurance program proposal from Jardine Lloyd Thompson Canada Limited at a premium of $254,063 plus applicable taxes for the provision of general municipal insurance for a one-year term ending January the 1st, 2017. Second, declare surplus to the municipality's needs and give notice of council's intention to pass a bylaw to close and sell the unopened section of Eckford Avenue located adjacent to 484 Eckford Avenue, and further that the town enter into an encroachment agreement to authorize the encroachment of a frame shed on the Copway Street road allowance. Comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. The next item is a Protective Services Report, December the 14th, 2015, and has been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Menage. The Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the Protective Services Report dated December the 14th, 2015, recommending that staff proceed with the sale of a 2012 Spartan Force fire truck to the City of Owen Sound at a price of $338,000 plus applicable HST, and further that the draft 2016 capital budget and fleet forecast be amended to include the proposed addition of a used/demo pumper in 2016. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda then is bylaws, and we have a number this evening. So, first, it's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 1-2016, being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing of money to meet current expenditures of the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is an interim tax rate bylaw, and it's been moved by Councillor Dave Myatt, seconded by Councillor Grace, that bylaw 2-2016, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2016, and to provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalty and interest, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2015. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next item is a assumption of works on Plan 3M212 and 3M223, and it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councillor Rich, that bylaw 3-2016, being a bylaw for the assumption of public works on plans of subdivision 3M-2012 and 3M-212 and 3M-223, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2015. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item then is an assumption of Fenton Drive, and it's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 4-2016, being a bylaw to establish and assume certain lands within the Town of Saugeen Shores into the municipal road system as a public highway for public use, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments? Questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. The next is assumption of bylaw to assume, or the assumption of Bushwood Lane. It's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Mayette. That bylaw 5-2016, being a bylaw to establish and assume Bushwood Lane into the municipal road system as a public highway for public use, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. The next item is an assumption of Sandy Acres Road, then, and it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt and seconded by Councillor Matheson. That bylaw 6-2016, being a bylaw to assume Sandy Acres Road into the municipal road system as a public highway for public use, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed to any? That's carried. The next item is approve a site plan for the Feed Mill Center on 5102 Highway 21. It's been moved by Councillor Dave Mayette and seconded by Councillor Grace. That bylaw 7-2016, being a bylaw to authorize a site plan agreement with the Feed Mill Center Incorporated, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Questions? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you. I'm not sure that the question can be answered, but in this agreement, and I'm assuming this is fairly similar to others, there's very specific language that talks about the parking areas provided on the subject lands shall be reasonably maintained clear of snow, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't always very specifically comment beyond, and again, there's a comment a little further on that references private approach sidewalks, but these site agreements seem to pick up that there's lots of stuff associated with vehicles, but there's not a lot of stuff associated with people walking on the property too. So if, and if you read this, I guess you could somehow come up with that they're supposed to keep the sidewalks adjacent to the building or leading into the building clear of snow too. If someone would have a concern about that, how do we, after the fact, ask somebody to follow through on the agreement? Is that, because it's not really a bylaw enforcement issue. I'm just curious how we do that. And I'm not at all concerned about this one, but there's another recent development that, quite frankly, they never clear the snow in front of their property where people walk. So I'm just curious, is there some way that we can address that after the fact? Do you know, Stuart?
And if you raise it with our staff, and you can, these are registered agreements that are conditions of approval. So I think if there's a part of the agreement that they aren't fulfilling, then by all means we could bring it to their attention.
Well, I guess my point in saying all of that is I just would like to encourage the town to, as we continue with this sort of thing, that where there's language in these agreements that it's very specific, that it's not just about parking areas, but it's about pedestrian access routes too. Because, if we're trying to create this kind of community where we want people to be walking and whatever, let's make sure that those people get taken care of in site plans too. Thank you.
Just a brief comment. Staff are actually making a list of proposed improvements to the template language, and we're hoping to revise the site plan agreement in the relatively near future, and that pedestrian connectivity and maintenance issue is something that we've flagged already.
Councillor Mike Myatt.
Thank you. Larry, Larry, is this it's just to clarify the property here behind Tim Hortons, correct? South of Tim Hortons, is that the piece of property we're looking at?
Yes.
The question I have is it here, it should be included, or is it a later point in time? This is the developer that had spoken to met with Town of Saugeen Shores staff about the perhaps allocating space for a gateway sign. Did I miss that in here, or is that at a later point in time?
No, but that he's agreed to that. We haven't picked a site, Mike, and it's really not part of the site plan agreement. It would be a separate agreement that we would enter into. But he was, and it was my understanding at the time, and he still is, that he was quite interested in cooperating with the town.
That's good.
Further questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. The next item is on the agenda is. Oops. Gord's Pro Shop and Imprints bylaw, and it's been moved by Councilor Minaj and seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber that bylaw 8-2016, being a bylaw to authorize a lease agreement with Gord's Pro Shop and Imprints for the Pro Shop in the community complex, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item then is to appoint a Director of Finance. Town of Saugeen Shores, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Minaj, that bylaw 9-2016, being a bylaw to appoint a Director of Finance for the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments, questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next item then is appoint a treasurer, and it's been moved by Councillor Rich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, that bylaw 10-2016, being a bylaw to appoint a treasurer for the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is appoint council members to the Committee of Adjustment. And it's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 11-2016, being a bylaw to provide for the appointment of council members to the Committee of Adjustment, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Well, as a point of clarification, I think it's bylaw 12.
12?
I'm just curious to know, is it 11 or 12?
Should be 11. Should be
Okay.
11.
I'm curious to know, we were hopeful of, so we get the right number. We were hopeful of making some changes with Planning Advisory Committee in this, and so the intent was sort of halfway through this term. I'm just curious how we're going to work towards that. Do you remember what I'm talking about, Deputy Mayor Charbonneau?
I think the comment or what we discussed and I understand we agreed to, that was as we appointed each 2 years, we've done that halfway through the term appointed, that at the end of this term, that would be the end of the Planning Advisory Committee, and that those functions would come to council. Having said that, if you read that report from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, it is also saying that we must have public representation on a Planning Advisory Committee, so that may have, when these regulations come into effect, that may have some impact on what our options are. Okay, all in favor of that, then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And the next item is acquire land from Bazzoni, and it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councillor Rich, that bylaw 12-2016, being a bylaw to authorize the acquisition of land, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. Questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried. It's the end of the bylaws. Need a rest. Anyways, we're going to go into closed public session, but before we do that, I just want to make a statement, or just to say it, acknowledge that our Director of Public Works, Stuart Doyle, has tendered his resignation, and he's going on to bigger and better things. And on behalf of council, Stuart, I was asking Larry, I couldn't remember how many years you're here, so you're going to have to, you'll have to forgive me for that, but I know it was fairly lengthy, and I think it's been at least 5 years as director. And we want to thank you for what you've brought to our community. You've brought a skill that very few people have, to work with people and to represent our community. And many of the great things that are in our community now happen because you were here. And thank you, and all the best. The next item then is a closed to public session, and it's been moved by Councillor Madison and seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt, that council move into a closed to public session in accordance with bylaw 63-2015 under section 3.8.2b regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, regarding the Director of Public Works position. Didn't take as long to try to replace you now, did it? All in favor? Sorry, everybody here, it's been Mike Myatt, that bylaw 13-2016, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and sealed this 11th day of January 2016. All in favor? That's carried. Here it is. It's been moved by Councillor Minaj and seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber that this regular council meeting of January the 11th, 2016 here I adjourn at 9:25 p.m. All in favor? That's carried.